Pashta is always something that looks forward, so because it's a forward-looking note, it has a fixed place. It comes at the end of the word so that you can look forward to what's going to come after it. However, the rules of grammar and pronunciation are sometimes going to impose themselves on our Pashta, and we're going to have to tell the person who is reading that that is not the accented syllable. So by our knowledge of the accented syllable, we have a tradition of writing a second pashta on the accented syllable, and therefore we're imposing an extra meaning on this pashta because it becomes shtei pashtot, it becomes a double pashta. The way Terach brought up his sons stimulated them to choose their proper directions in life, and those were his contributions to his children and to history, as indicated by the double directional shape of the reading mark. So this is, again, something that we're going to find that is unique to this translation, in that we're saying, and those doesn't necessarily talk about Toldot. It's not saying that these are the generations who come after it. It's saying he's giving them different things. He's giving them directions and thoughts, and he's giving them multiple things, rather than these are the progeny of. So the word is completely separate, stands by itself, based on the fact that it is assigned its own note. Toldot, generations, with a munach, so this separates itself out from what has come before and moves forward to what's going to come afterwards. His own personality was manifest by his generations, in whom the combined characteristics of his stature had split up to appear individually, as in the case of Noach, as shown by the shape of the reading marks, in comparison with the beginning of the Sedra. So, at the very beginning of the Sedra, he said, "Ve'ele toldot Noach," these are the generations of Noach, with exactly these notes to it. So we're drawing a parallel because the notes are the same, and we are seeing that each of the three sons that we had just mentioned, that Terach had, go a separate way, have something separate about them, and that is the separation that the munach imposes, and then they move forward and give their contribution to the world. Terach.
Wait, the construction of the sentence also not only is Be'ele Toldot Terach, and there was Be'ele Toldot Noah. Is that, you said that already? Or?
So we haven't said that yet, because we haven't got there yet, but we will get there. So of Terach, with a katon, with a two-part note on it, the multilateral components of Terach regarding his predispositions became obvious in his descendants, as pointed out by the bipartite shape of the reading mark. So Terach is drawing on older concepts and yet staying in his own presence, staying in his own time. So he has both older ideas and present ideas, and that is why he gets a two-part note here. And then we're going to have Terach with a yativ. Yativ looks like a mapach, so number 4. Number 3. We have two number 1s for some reason. That's why we're getting confused here. Terach with a yativ. The yativ is also another note that always has a position on the word. And we recognize it as a yativ because it is written before the first vowel of the first word. So if it was a mapach that was coming on that syllable, it would come after the segol. It would come after the note. Right. But because it's a yativ, it actually comes before the word. So this is a malach. This is a freestanding note that pauses after it, rather than being a masharit, a servant, like a mapach is. It doesn't connect to the next word. It separates itself out, and it emphasizes the word and makes it and gives it importance, despite it being a note that is underneath the word. Terach with we've obviously, we don't actually have a a comment on this one. So because of the numbering, we don't seem to have a comment on this, and we will try to again use our skills and our knowledge, and we're going to say that terach, the second time we say the word terach, even though it says a number 3 beside it, we have 2 1s, a 2, and a 3. So we've come to all of the words before this, and the one that says number 3 is quite obviously talking about the katon, because it's saying about the bipartite shape of the reading mark, which is the katon. So the one that is numbered now, number 3, terach with the yativ, doesn't have a comment. However, we know that what terach had, we know from what we had said about terach from the previous sentence, is that terach came back to original concepts that Noah had given. He tried as best he can to go back to that original transmission and at least examine some of those thoughts. So again, a yativ takes us backwards and can take us backwards very far. And this is something that gives the word importance. When we read it out loud afterwards, you'll see the word gets a flourish. So you're going to see that terach is going to stand out because of this, that he actually went back to original principles. And I think that's the reason that he gets the yativ here. Had produced holid with a munach. This is going to separate us out from what's come from before and move us forward. Number 4, in terach were merged elements of daily practicality along with ideas of high spirit, and he had produced the system and direction of thought of his sons as denoted by the shape of the reading mark. So by again making himself a little bit different from all of the generations that had come before him and going back to the faith in more original principles, he had separated himself out and moves the world forward into again having stronger influence by those original thoughts. Et Avram, with Avram. Sorry, what did you say?
No, I said as opposed to original sin.
With Avram, with a katon. So again, this is a 2-part note. Terach's ideology had matured by collaboration with Avram, who had in his father's home a preparation for his own ideas, as indicated by the directional reading mark. This is usually not what we say about a katon. We usually don't refer to it as a directional reading mark. We usually refer to it as a bipartite reading mark, and I think that's perhaps a typo or a thought mistake here, because truly we are saying that Avram is both learning from his father's concepts, but also contributing concepts back to his father. So I think we really think that this is a bipartite reading mark, not a directional reading mark. So if it were up to me, I would cross out the word directional and insert the word bipartite.
Who knows? Maybe
he might have been referring to the upward direction of the growth of Avram.
And again, we certainly have imposed that meaning on a katon before, that it often implies a higher concept than a lower concept, but we've never referred to that as directional before.
But wouldn't it be interesting? Maybe shut up this way.
That's okay.
It would be interesting it would be interesting if maybe this place where we think maybe he made a mistake was when you came down to the basement or something and it was bugging him and the Persian was just trying to get rid of you or something.
That's so interesting.
Wouldn't that be interesting? Or maybe it was you, Vic, also.
Sorry?
It's possible, but he also reviewed and reviewed, so he would have picked up on it.
Yeah.
Maybe you bugged him more than once.
That's for sure.
And we have an extra remark here. Contrary to legends of some commentators who describe Terach as an idol worshipper and Noach as small believers, Miktanei Emunah, I find proof in Torah that, like Noach, Terach was a true just man. Terach is in the same category with his name reiterated, Noach, 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 Ish Tzaddik, and Terach, Terach. Ve'elu toldot Terach, Terach Holid. The same applies also to Shem, Avram, Yaakov, Moses, and Shmuel, but not to Yitzchak. Terach was greater than Yitzchak according to the Torah.
Really?
So this is an imposition of this device of language and where it is used.
That's not so much Trump. Now he's talking about actual. Why does it call Yitzchak?
The double
Because he doesn't spell Yitzchak like that usually.
That's the Polish spelling.
Oh, really? He did that? Oh, we haven't got the Yitzchak.
It's there on the
So what we will later learn is that when you have the reference to Avram, Yaakov, Moshe, I'm not sure about the reference to Shmuel, I'll have to look that one up.
Not Shmuel, Shem.
Shmuel.
And the Nota Bene
when we have those references, the two words, Vayomer Avram, Avram, the two words are connected by the trope. And here, Ve'ele toldot Noach, pause, Noach ish tzaddik, so the two Noachs are separated a little bit. Similarly, Ve'ele toldot Terach, pause, Terach. So we see that when we're talking about these two, we have the separation between the two names, and there is a device that says when you have the same word twice in Torah, there is actually a line that's put in between them. So there is actually
except for Moshe. Except for Moshe, that's why he's
so there is actually a separation that's imposed on the pronunciation. So the directness of the connection, we're saying with Noach and Terach, there is a definite separation between them, and that is why we get the debate as to whether Noach was in fact a great man or Noach was not so great of a man. And I think we can use this separation between the two words by the pause imposed by the notes to say that, okay, they had something that was about them, So Terach is again returning to original principles, which is at least something good. So he has some merit to his approach, and yet he's got separation from his approach as well.
So you said aside from Noach and Terach, those other ones he mentions
don't have notes that connect them, have notes that are mashartim, so they connect the two words. And here we have notes that pause and then pause again. So we will take it as
You're sure
as
you
it
checked
is.
out all those other people?
I haven't checked out Shmuel.
Well, probably.
And we have another comment. Holid, he produced, reflects the meaning of Genesis 25:19. We'll get that. Avram holidet Yitzchak, as I explained there, and I think we're not going to go forward and look at that. Nonetheless, what we're going to say is that there is certainly some proof that Terach had redeeming characters, qualities about himself, and they do subtly appear in the phraseology. Number 6, et Nachor with a tipcha. Avram has a pause after him, katon with a pause, et Nachor again with the tipcha, because we're saying Nachor's contribution is a little bit greater or of a little more significance than Haran's. So he is connected to Avram by the tipcha, which points him backwards and then separates him out again. Terach worked about his idea also with Nachor, but he was not responsive like Avram, as noted by the something of the reading mark. So obviously it's the backwards directional shape of the reading mark. And again, I think this sentence might have been written later than that. So we
read me a story.
We see again this backwards reference as exactly we had in the previous sentence, that we're getting Nachor's connection and Avram's connection and Haran's connection to all be separate and to stand on their own, so that their contributions are recognized for what they are, but all really looking back to Avram as perhaps the major source. V'et Haran gets the stabilizing etnachta. Terach tried to stabilize the revolutionary impetus of the new concepts, and with Haran, Terach had fortified the positions of two sons, as expressed by the stabilizing shape of the reading mark. So, Haran, who is going to give birth to Sarai, to Sarah, has a great important contribution, and it's going to stand alone, and it's going to be something that influences the other two. But the question is, does it in any way supersede the other two? It's difficult to try to rank here based on the way that the notes are separating them out.
Who are we ranking? You mean the three kids?
So we're saying Avram has a contribution both of his own, and he's giving something back to his father even. Nahor is giving something back to Avram and maybe having some influence on his father, maybe not. Haran is stabilizing the other two children, stabilizing Avram and Nahor by giving them something that's going to make them grow in the future, but is really not looking back to Terach and giving anything to Terach. So we separate them all out by the uniqueness and individuality of their contributions. Haran with a tipcha, looking back to what's come from before and pausing slightly afterwards. By active participation in the new drive, Avram and Haran become involved to bring out new concepts of thought and behavior, trying to live up to the expectations as specified by the reverse orientation of the directional reading mark. So all of a sudden we say the word Veharan and Haran, but it's got a tipcha. It's looking backwards. So we have to fill in that, what's it looking backwards at? And all of a sudden we've thrown Avram into this word Veharan and Haran. So we've said that backwards directional note is including Haran's influence on Avram. Avram now becomes the main character, and the only importance of the contribution of Haran is in his ability to give something to Avram. So again, we have a word that doesn't mention Avram at all, but the directional shape of the note forces us to fill in, well, what's he looking back to? And for the first time, when we're talking about a son, we're not talking about the son looking back to the father or looking back to generations before him. We are all of a sudden seeing from the interpretation that Haran is looking back to his brother, to Avram, not to Terach, and not to generations before.
How do you, wait a minute, you get that from the Tipcha?
The Tipcha says he's looking back to something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
it doesn't say what per se.
Right.
Yeah.
But because we've given Avram the same ranked note as Terach, we've given him a katon. Terach we gave a katon in this sentence. Avram we gave a katon. We're saying that he doesn't need to look back to Terach.
Don't use pronouns because we're talking about too many people.
Haran doesn't need to look back to Terach. He just looks back to Avram.
Why would you think he's looking back to Terach? I mean, because it's so many words past
because in previous sentences when we've talked about children and had a tipcha, it always looked back to the father.
Right.
Whether
Father
that was the word before
this.
it or not, right? Like
Yeah.
just in general.
And sometimes we draw it farther back. It'll say, it looks to the grandfather or to Noach or to whatever. But here we're going laterally, not backwards.
Well, Avram.
I think that's
Avram is going backwards also. No.
I think that's strengthened by the munach under the holid at Avram. I look at this pasuk and I think the Eila Toldot Terach, Eila with two markings of pe'er. These are very praiseworthy Toldot.
And again, that's why I think we have this note at the side that says perhaps Terach was greater than the Midrash says that he was.
I think for sure he was, because I think that Terach, he built idols, but clearly he saw through it because he was an idol maker, and that's why Avram was able to bash up his idols and say one idol killed the other, because I don't think it may be completely de novo that he got that idea. I think he might have been brought up in a spiritual home. A man who creates idols is a spiritual man. He's devoted his occupation to spiritual pursuit.
Or just because he sells them doesn't mean necessarily he believes in them. Like there's people in the Arab shuk who sell Judaic gods. They just want to make a buck.
Well,
true, or maybe in India. But I don't think that Terach was there. I don't think.
Then why would Abraham have to do that whole ruse? If he was so in sync with what Abraham was saying.
Exactly, because we have a munach here. Because the Eila told Terach, the pe'er, the legacy, the toldot, the legacy of Terach is the munach. It's what comes from him forward, right? So Terach has the ancient knowledge, but what was really his legacy were his children, Avram, Nahor, and Haran.
But the munach is not under Terach.
It's under toldot.
Right.
What comes out from him is his is his ability to take original concepts and push them forward, which had not been necessarily done in the generations before.
But I thought we were talking about
break in the fast.
We're talking about the tipcha for.
We're talking about the tipcha and haran.
Haran.
But yes.
So what to me, it's natural. You're saying it doesn't go back to Terach, it goes back to Avram, which is the first time for this. Of course, it's contribution to Avram because he's furnishing the wife for Abraham.
Yeah. So that's the stabilizing,
So that's why it goes back to Abraham.
The stable. Yeah.
Right. But without.
He gives him but by it, she's the stabilizing force. That Avram, is spiritual and connected to God and involved in higher spirits. And Sarah built him his earthly home. She's the.
Right there, but I'm saying in context of the notes in Haran, we're saying because of the Yativ, and looking backwards, Haran is looking backwards to Abraham because he's going to be his father-in-law.
Oh, so you're looking at the Yativ, not at the.
Well, that's what he was talking about, the Yativ. You started talking about Terach and Toldot and all that.
Yeah.
That could be true, but that's a separate topic. He was talking about the Tipcha, so that's what I'm talking about, because that's what you were talking about, right? Yeah?
Agreed.
The following note, though, is interesting as well.
What?
PNB.
Which one?
So we have another comment. The double mention of Haran. So at Nahor we have Haran.
Right, because then we have
at Nachta. Haran, Veharan, and Haran. So we have his name mentioned twice as well, but separated out very strongly from the beginning of the sentence, from the Resha to the Sefer, from the beginning of the sentence, the second half. The double mention of Haran may also suggest that he was a just man, Sadiq, supplying Sarai as a wife for Avraham, and being killed for Kiddush Hashem. So we'll learn later the midrash that applies. So we see also, because of this double language, both the idea that there were redeeming qualities, but again, we're also seeing with somebody who we feel didn't have complete faith or complete redemption to the way that his character was, that there's a separation between the double mention of his name. And this one is even perhaps a little stronger than the one that Noach or Terach get. Holid, Mercha. So this is lightly connected to what's come from before, but mostly moving forward into what's going to go afterwards. Had produced, number 9.
Sorry, just before we leave, number 8, the nota bene. So can we tell the the
Story.
story of.
I think we're gonna tell it as we get into it. So
Oh,
we're
okay.
gonna get into
With all the talk that we talked about, that his yichus Haran, that that he was the father-in-law, the Torah doesn't mention Sarah. Like, you think she's worth noting here already that he was father to both of them. It only mentions Lot. And between Lot and Sarah's the better kid. You know what I mean? It's like mentioning Vic instead of you.
Anyway, yeah.
Holid. Having accepted the new ideology, Haran had produced a son who was prepared to be brought up by the new principles and spirit set by Avraham, as illustrated by the directional shape of the related reading mark. So, this child who is going to be born is going to be influenced by what's going to go forward from here, what we've set up as Abraham's influence on Terach's teaching. Et Lot, with the stabilizing sof pasuk, with Lot, Haran attempted to establish a reliable follower of his oldest brother. Again, we're referencing back to Abraham, not to Terach. And that is the stability that Lot is going to get from his relationship with Abraham, not from his relationship to Terach. So again, we're going to notice as we read through the sentence the separation between Terach's name mentioned twice, the flourish on the second, both on Ve'ele and on the second mention of Terach, and we're going to notice the larger pause between Ve'et Haran and Ve'haran, that there's even a larger little bit of separation between those two mentions of his name. So while he has some righteous contribution, it's probably even less than Terach's contribution or Noach's contribution.
Just before you sing it, so just remind me, so in all the genealogies that we did, there was never a double like that?
There's a double with Noach.
No, I mean, yeah, obviously.
There are no other doubles.
Right.
Ve'ele toldot Terach holid et Avram, v'et Nachor, v'et Haran.
There's no, not the Et Nachor. No.
Et Nachor.
You're right. So that's what, you're supposed to correct the whole story even on that.
Okay, let's go again. Ve'ele toldot Terach holid et Avram, et Nachor, v'et Haran, v'Haran holid et Lot.
He's just as not the Moshe Rabbeinu that he can take that. And you're supposed to do that. I believe me, he's the greatest author.
We will move on. We are on page 151.
Will you just stick up in for 1 second so that Vic doesn't give it to me later?
Sorry?
Good.
He was correct to correct me.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
That's why I get it.
Thank you, Alan. Let us continue.
Thank you for the correction.
At
We will
10
go
p.m.
on.
let's continue.
Okay, we're not going to finish today.
11:28.
It doesn't matter. We're not,
I think we are not
for
going
another
to finish
video.
today. And Vayamot, and he died with a munach. So this is with a. So this is separated from what's come from before and going to move us forward into what's going to go on. Haran attempted to implant in Lot the new concepts and teachings, and he died because being accused of betrayal by teaching ideologies that conflicted with the general belief in relation with the end of the previous sentence, as indicated by the shape of the reading mark. Again, here we see that we're starting to have perhaps a little bit of a different concept of the separation that a munach implies, because we are saying that there's a connection to the previous sentence, despite the fact that we've been previously interpreting a munach as having a sharp demarcation. So we're really using the textual reference to impose a little something on the note, which we weren't doing before, but we've started to do with munach as we move forward here.
This is the first time you're saying, or
This is not the first time. We've done it through this telling of the generations.
Right.
That we're saying that there is some degree of demarcation, but there's also some degree of connection.
Right.
And
But what other
I think
words
we're
did they
taking
say? If not this other.
Mercha. Mercha is lightly connected but moves forward. So a Mercha would say, okay, we're connected to what's come from before, but we're really moving forward to what's going to go on next. This we would think, oh, he did something completely different, and this is what happened afterwards. But we're really not saying that here.
Is it possible that the results are different? In other words, this is
So-
the first time someone's been put to death for
Mhm.
taking a different path. And maybe that's the sharp demarcation. I mean, in terms of what we know, as recorded, it's the first time that someone has been put to death because they followed a different path.
First time that someone's been put to death because they followed a different path.
In